Greetings, citizens of the internet! You can call me Nitro Indigo, and welcome to my Q&A video. Laura on duty asks, what movies or games are you looking forward to later this year? Paper Mario the Origami King looks interesting. There aren't many things coming out this year in general. I'm looking forward to QI Series R as well, which starts airing tomorrow. I know it's not a movie or a video game, but still. Fabulous Fish asked, what is your dream career? Are you going to actively pursue it? I want to be an author, but the problem is, whenever I come up with a story idea that isn't a fan fiction, I just can't think of a direction for it to go in, and I just end up getting stuck or just drawing the same characters over and over again in a notebook. What is something you thought you'd hate but ended up liking? The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. Initially I thought that game was rubbish and didn't want to play it, but then after learning about some funny lines in it, I played it and I ended up really enjoying it, and it was one of the first 3 games that helped me get good at video games in 2012. The other 2 were Pokemon White 2 and Skyward Sword, in the order I played them. What is something you thought you'd like but ended up hating? Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon! Basically, when that game was first announced, I was really hyped for it, but the problem is that it was released in Europe like half a year after it came out in America, or at least it felt that way. So I watched Marilyn's entire Let's Play of it, and honestly I just really hate the ending of that game because it just makes no sense, and it's just really rushed. And then when I actually played the game, because I'd spoiled it for myself, I just could not get motivated to play it. Not to mention that the game is really hard, so just thinking about playing it made me feel exhausted. But the soundtrack is still one of my favourites in any video game ever, and if you're wondering, my other favourite video game soundtracks are in the order the games were released. Klonoa, Daughter Phantomile, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, Children of Mana, which is another one of my least favourite games, and Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. Have you ever had a crush on a fictional character? No, I don't think so. If you could adapt anything into a full-length film, what would you pick and who would you cast? So one of my favourite books is Skyhawk by Jill Lewis, which is about these people in Scotland who find an osprey on a farm and they have to keep it a secret, and they end up learning about the osprey's migration patterns. Unfortunately, I don't know who I would cast in it because I don't know many actors. Other books I'd like to see adapted into films are To Be a Cat, which is about a boy who wishes he could turn into a cat, and then he turns into a cat, and then he has to learn a lesson about be happy with what you have. As I've said in the latest episode of Do Judge a Book by its Cover, that book holds a special place in my heart because I could relate to the main character's problems, specifically being lonely and having a mean teacher. And if I were to adapt that into a film, I'd make it animated and in a similar style to the illustrations. And my other pick would be Jessica's Ghost, which is a book about a boy who's into fashion and he meets this ghost who can't remember how she died. It's called Friends for Life in America, by the way. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? I think I would get rid of my procrastination. If you could add one character to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, who would it be and why? I would pick Tefu or Teffy from Ever Oasis, who have both the male and female versions respectively as like alternate costumes, like with the Fire Emblem avatars. Because Ever Oasis needs more love, and also I think it could adapt well into a fighting game because the player character in that game can use all sorts of weapons. Do you have any pets? No. If you could go back in time and change any one decision you've made, what would it be and why? Not spoiling The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks for myself. And finally, if you could choose any game for me to LP and or any piece of media for me to make a fishbowl analysis on, what would it be? I would pick for you to review Power Rangers Dino Thunder, or at least the first 2 episodes of it, because you've played the tie-in game already, and I'm curious to see what someone with a non-fan with no nostalgia would think of Power Rangers, because most of the Power Rangers analysis I hear is from fans. Super G asks, what is your favourite TV show? Full Metal Alchemist 2003. Even though it's a bit rough around the edges, let's say, it holds a special place in my heart because it introduced me to the concept of depth. It also has gorgeous visuals with lots of lovely orange hues and a phenomenal soundtrack. The only reason I haven't talked about it at length on my channel is because I'm not confident enough to talk about war, religion and the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics. CraftyMint6 Gaming asks, what gave you the idea for the Judge It By Its Cover videos? I can't actually remember why I decided to make it. There were a bunch of book covers I wanted to talk about, so I talked about them. Swarm Dark asks, what got you into YouTube in the first place? Back when I got my YouTube account in early 2016, what I mainly watched on YouTube were Pokemon Mystery Dungeon remixes, so I made an account so I could do remixes of various video game music. Unfortunately, most of them were terrible and only one is still public on my channel, but everyone has to start somewhere. And finally, Depressed Unicorn 444 asks, and most of these are My Little Pony related, favourite pony? There aren't really any pony characters in that show that I particularly like. I'm not actually that massively into My Little Pony. It's something I'm sort of casually interested in, and I didn't really get into it until 2014, and I keep having phases of being interested in it and not interested in it. But one of my favourite pony characters is Scootaloo, I guess, because she has a lot of problems in her life because she's disabled and her parents are absent, but she still manages to be confident anyway. And my favourite non-pony characters are Yona, Gallus and Terramar. And as to my least favourite pony, Lickety Split.
No matter how I try, I can't seem to please. What do they want? Should I go down on my knees?
You never said the character had to be from Friendship is Magic. Favourite Friendship is Magic episode? Surf and or Turf, because it has really pretty visuals and as I just said, I really like Terramar. And Your Heart is in Two Places is a great song. I love how when Scootaloo's section begins, the instrumentation kicks up. Least favourite Friendship is Magic episode? There aren't really any ones I hate because I haven't seen every episode of the show. And when people say an episode is terrible, then I just don't want to watch it. And not to mention there are some episodes I haven't seen in ages. Have you ever been to an MLP convention or maybe just Comic-Con? No. Do you think the show ended well or ended too soon? I don't think it ended too soon. 9 years is a long time. What are your thoughts on pony life in MLPG5? My biggest concern for Generation 5 is that they'll try too hard to create memes in order to recapture the magic instead of doing their own thing. People will act disappointed if the main characters of Friendship is Magic won't be in G5, even though My Little Pony is not good at keeping a consistent cast, unlike Transformers. And now for Depressed Unicorn's non-MLP questions. What subject did you really hate at school? DT, which stands for Design Technology. They called it Resistant Materials, but I didn't want to call it that. Because it was actually physically painful. I had to cut aluminium with a miniature, an arc saw, I think it was called, at one point. What's your favourite time of year? Early spring, but right now it's too hot outside, so not late spring. Are there any countries you'd like to visit one day? I'm not sure. I don't really like travelling that much. And finally, what's something from a game/TV show/film that terrified you as a kid? When I was little, I was scared of Thomas the Tank Engine for reasons I don't entirely remember. I think I might have been scared of Diesel 10 from Thomas and the Magic Railroad, but I honestly couldn't say because I don't remember my opinions on that movie because I haven't seen it in years. But I also remember when I was little, I had a light switch in my bedroom that scared me because it reminded me of Gordon for some reason. And I've already talked about this in my Red Rescue Team Let's Play, but it's in the middle of me rambling about a bunch of other stuff in a quite long video. And that's all for the questions.